Good morning. Good morning. So pleased to be joined by my colleagues today. And the Democratic Caucus was very excited to welcome back our colleague, Congressman Tom Suozzi, back to the House of Representatives. The people of New York's 3rd District are finally getting what they deserve, a problem solver who is ready to deliver to defend the freedoms of working families. In contrast, last week, extreme MAGA Republicans carried on their anti abortion movement and they secured another legal victory. This time, the Alabama Supreme Court jeopardized the use of IVF in the state. While gut wrenching, this is exactly what Republicans have been fighting for, and their record is clear. After Republicans swallowed their pride and supported Donald Trump, he made good on his pledge to stack the Supreme Court with partisan judges that would overturn Roe v. Wade. This is something that he openly bragged about. In Congress, 96% of House Republicans turned their backs on women and voted against the Right to Contraception Act. 147 Republicans signed the amicus brief asking the Supreme Court to ban mifepristone. And now the Speaker of the House and 169 other congressional Republicans have sponsored a bill that would end IVF as we know it. All of this happening today while Republicans continue their march across America to restrict abortion access. Don't let MAGA Republicans tell you any differently. They are preparing a nationwide abortion ban that would end reproductive freedom in all 50 states. The American people are going to see through these lies and their desperate attempts to change their own records. And now, even as we have a funding deal in place, extreme MAGA Republicans continue to shove their extremist agenda down the throats of working families. We've been down this road before. The extremists continue to torpedo bipartisan deals. That's been the hallmark of this Congress. House Democrats will not allow any policy riders that gut life-saving programs and limit access to reproductive care. We want common sense solutions to fund our government, fulfill our national security needs, and secure our southern border. Now let's get this done. Now, Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. Their star witness for the Republicans' sham impeachment proceedings was indicted by the Department of Justice for lying about Hunter Biden and for spreading Russian disinformation. Public reports are that this star witness met with Russian intelligence. And so what we have here are Republican members who have been trying to take out an American president through impeachment using Russian disinformation. Not only should these impeachment proceedings stop, but the Republicans that were spreading this Russian disinformation should apologize to American people. They were essentially using Russian disinformation to try to impeach an American president. This is anti-American traitorous conduct. Additional anti-American conduct we see come from the House Republicans who are unwilling to put a national security supplemental that passed with bipartisan support from the U.S. Senate on the House floor. Speaker Johnson has repeatedly said he wants the House to work its will. Well, guess what? How does the House work its will? We vote. Just put the bill on the floor for a vote. Let us vote. Maybe it will pass, maybe it won't pass. But if you don't want it to pass, then you make your argument for why you don't want it to pass. We think it's going to pass, but let the House vote. That's how the House works its will, not behind closed doors with Speaker Johnson and crazy people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's not how the House works its will. We work our will by simply voting. And then the third thing I'd like to talk about is how Republicans not only want to ban abortion, they now want to ban IVF. And we have with us an amazing representative, Terry Sewell from Alabama, who's going to discuss what's happening in Alabama as well as across the nation with regards to IVF.
Thank you. I'm Congresswoman Sewell of Alabama's 7th Congressional District. As the only Democrat in Alabama's congressional delegation and the only woman in Alabama's House delegation, I join in expressing my outrage over the recent ruling effectively banning IVF treatments for women who are simply trying to have children. This decision is alarming and unacceptable, and we are already seeing its chilling effects as clinics cut off fertility treatments in fear of prosecution. On Tuesday, my office hosted HHS Secretary Javier Becerra for a roundtable discussion in Birmingham, Alabama, to hear directly from Alabama women on how they will be impacted. Many of them have spent years desperately trying to have children. Some have devoted their life savings to fertility treatment, only to have their hopes and dreams ripped away by Republican judges on the Alabama Supreme Court. Patients undergoing IVF already face significant emotional, physical, and financial challenges, and this decision will only add to their fears and anxieties. Now, let me be clear. Women in Alabama and across this nation deserve access to a full range of reproductive health services. And that includes women who would like to grow their families, but have had difficulty doing so. Frankly, it is actually unimaginable that in the year 2024, we would be fighting this fight. Surely reproductive freedom was a battle that my mother's generation won. But everywhere we look, old battles have become new again as MAGA extremists work to erode our hard-fought rights and freedoms and roll back our progress. Make no mistake, while some of our colleagues across the aisle are attempting to backtrack the role that Republican officials have played in creating this nightmare, they still own it. Even today, over 60 House Republicans, including Speaker Johnson himself, are currently co-sponsoring legislation that will ban IVF nationwide. We cannot stand by as politicians work to strip women of their reproductive rights, nor can we accept a world where women today enjoy fewer rights and freedoms than their mothers and their grandmothers. House Democrats are working hard every day to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade into federal law and to protect the reproductive freedom of all women everywhere. With that, I want to thank my colleagues for allowing me to go on record about this alarming decision by the Alabama Supreme Court and how this is really owned by MAGA extremists and by House Republicans.
Thank you, Terry. Questions? Danielle? I think President Biden is exerting leadership. He's visiting. I think his first message is, I'm here to listen. I'm here to see with my own eyes what they are experiencing. But the experiences in each border community are different. We see that in Texas. We see that in Arizona, in California. Each border community is going to have its own unique concerns and opinions on this. And I think President Biden is there to see that. But the message is very clear. And I know House Republicans devoted a little bit of their time talking about this issue, but where are they on this? I mean, this is the responsibility of Congress to update our immigration laws and address this. And for over 30 years, Congress has avoided that. And the minute that there is a bipartisan solution, Donald Trump pulls the chain of House Republicans and pulls them back. And so, that's what we see. And so there is no leadership, and House Republicans have no right to say they are focused on solutions when they're the ones who are creating the issue and walking away from solutions and walking away from bipartisanship. There is no solution at the southern border that gets done unless it's in a bipartisan way. And that's why it's laughable that HR 2 and all the silliness that House Republicans continue to put forward. It's on us to fix this issue, and it has to be done in a bipartisan way. The Senate attempted. Donald Trump told them that they couldn't. Max? I think our message is, well, first, and we know the Democrats and Republicans who are advancing this, they are well-meaning. They really are. and these are thoughtful individuals. But I just don't think that this is the solution that is in front of us. I think the solution is incredibly clear. It is the bipartisan solution that has 70 votes out of the United States Senate. You guys spend a little more time over there than we do. I mean, getting the Senate to take up anything new would be weeks or months. And so the importance of passing this national security supplemental is the focus and the priority of House Democrats. And we believe that Speaker Johnson should put this on the floor. As Vice Chair Lieu mentioned, let the House work its will, put this on the floor, give it an up or down vote. Not what has, a couple percent of support within the House Republican Conference, what has a support of the House of Representatives, of the People's Chamber. That's what we should be focused on. And so I think anything short of that is maybe well-meaning, but is not where the focus should be. Right? I mean, it's pretty clear. I'll ask the vice chair to speak here. It's pretty clear that there's nothing there. There no evidence, no proof, no problem. That's the mantra of House Republicans. I'll leave it up to the committee. I know he previously requested to testify in public. I'll leave it up to the committee to decide that. But I think it's incredibly clear to anybody who is watching that there is no proof, no evidence, no connection to from President Biden to Hunter Biden's business affairs. But that doesn't seem to ever hold up House Republicans from throwing out innuendos and individuals who are willing to lie to share their story.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. Hunter Biden has said that he is happy to testify in front of the American people under oath. It was Republicans who rejected that because they were afraid of what Hunter Biden was going to tell the American people, which is this whole thing, this whole impeachment proceeding is a sham. It's built on a house of cards, built on a fundamental lie. How do we know that? Because the Department of Justice indicted their star witness for making these lies. And the public reporting is that this star witness talked to Russian intelligence. So again, we have Russia trying to influence what's happening in American government, American politics. And this impeachment is trying to take out American president based on Russian disinformation. And the Republicans need to stop doing that.
Questions?
Actually, this is a specific question for Congressman Lieu. I know that you were recently named the co-chair for the AI task force. I just want to see, I feel like we always hear a lot about different task forces and committees in Congress. Can you say specifically what the task force is going to deliver or produce and what the timeline for that is?
Sure. Thank you for that question. I do want to thank Leader Jeffries and Speaker Johnson for establishing the House Bipartisan Task Force on Artificial Intelligence. I'm honored to co-chair this task force with Jay Obernolte on the Republican side. We have set up a series of meetings. I'm going to meet with Jay tonight, and then we'll discuss what's the best way to go forward. We are going to be producing, or we've been charged with producing a report by the end of the term on what kinds of AI we should regulate and what's the best way to go about doing that. And there's other tasks that we could also do. So I'm going to talk to Jay and we'll get back to you on what other things we'll be looking at.
Michael?
Absolutely.
59th anniversary that Congressman Sewell will be leading. So privileged to be able to attend with my family last year. Look forward to attending in the future, and her leadership, standing on the shoulders of John Lewis, Jim Clyburn in our caucus, who have always reminded us about the history, about those events, and about our responsibility to honor that and to carry forward our advocacy of voting rights. I appreciate the question. Our caucus is incredibly diverse, but the role that the Congressional Black Caucus plays is so profound and important. We have been putting on events to honor Black History Month, and we'll do a few more events and opportunities today with members of the caucus. And pleased to be joined today with Terry Sewell, who will reflect on what this weekend means for her and her community too.
Thank you. Well, growing up in Selma, Alabama, literally a stone's throw away from the Edmund Pettus Bridge, I have a deep, abiding understanding of how ordinary Americans can bring about extraordinary social change. I'm excited this weekend, as today is the last day of Black History Month. I've often said that we in Alabama, especially in my district, which includes the historic cities of Birmingham and Tuscaloosa and Montgomery and my hometown of Selma, we're merely custodians of America's history. Black history is American history. And we have a solid, united in our efforts to make sure that leader Jeffrey becomes Speaker Jeffrey in the Congressional Black Caucus. And we're led ably by Stephen Horsford, and who will also be joining me in Selma. It is to have the opportunity to walk back in time, to experience the places, to meet the people, to make sure this nation never forgets what happened on Bloody Sunday. And given that old battles have become new again, not just for reproductive rights and reproductive freedoms, but for voting rights, I think I would have never guessed that my cause would be the same cause that John Lewis fought for 59 years ago. John was bludgeoned on a bridge for the right of all of us to vote. And we have seen Republicans roll back that Republican-led Supreme Court with the Shelby decision. And it's simply unacceptable. So I actually look forward to having the opportunity to stand there with our vice president, who has done a great job of talking about this rollback of freedoms and rights that we enjoy, whether that's reproductive freedom or voting rights. She's been leading the charge in the White House on those issues. And I look forward to standing with her on the bridge, as John would say, one more time. But I also want all of us to understand the importance of this election. And I think that she'll touch on that. She'll touch on what's at stake when it comes to progress. And I look forward to her also espousing on what her thoughts are about how we can motivate, especially younger folks, to get out the vote. I think that there's one threat that I worry about, it's voter apathy. And I'm going to use this opportunity this weekend to talk about the difference that we can make when we vote. And when we vote, we win as a nation. And when Black folks vote, I think that they make a difference. Look at Atlanta. And so I really will take this opportunity to not only share with my colleagues the great history that lives and breathes in my district, but also to challenge them to go back and rededicate ourselves to the struggle for which John Lewis and so many others, known and unknown, fought for. Oh, yes. And then also, I just want to note that the State of the Union this year is on March 7th. March 7th, 1965 was the actual day of Bloody Sunday. It was on that bridge on March 7th that John and those marchers were bludgeoned and run over. I mean, we all seen the footage. And I think, I'm sure there was no intention on my Republican colleagues in choosing that date, but we're going to seize the opportunity of having the State of the Union be on that anniversary date by welcoming some of the foot soldiers who will remind all of us that we have a role to play in making sure that this country lives up to its highest ideals of equality and democracy.
Thank you. Well, I think we've been concerned. I think the House Democrats continue to be concerned about the situation on the ground. We know the importance of humanitarian assistance in the region. We've been advocating and we've been forceful on this. It is one of the concerns that many in the caucus have raised about other proposals that have been advocated is a lack of humanitarian assistance to those packages. It's a reason why we voted against um, Israel assistance weeks ago, is because it didn't have that component. The United States needs to surge and work with our allies to surge resources, humanitarian resources, and food and water and medicine to the region. But we believe that anything that falls short of that is incomplete, and we continue to monitor the situation and appreciate the president's leadership on this. Chad?
You talked earlier about a choice. So that's the only bill that is passed. I understand the Democratic reservation. With HR2 being the only bill that is passed, do you see any reason why some Democrats, some are desperate to do things on the bill, so why don't we take a look at that? Or is that just too far?
No, I think you've heard Republican senators say that has no support in the House. It's dead on arrival. I mean, and so, what we need is a bipartisan solution. And I appreciate that there are colleagues of ours who want a bipartisan solution. And if the speaker wanted to, we could have discussions about that, about a bipartisan solution that was not HR2. But it appears that Republicans, especially in the House, and Donald Trump would rather have the issue than the solution. And so they have walked away from that. And so the importance for us now, the next step, is to pass the national security supplemental. And that is what is on the table. I'm so confused by Speaker Johnson, and he opposed executive actions, and now he supports executive actions. I don't know where he stands at any given point on executive actions at the border, but it is very clear that our laws can only be changed with congressional action. If we were serious about that, we could address it. Absent that, we have to deal with what's in front of us, which is a national security supplemental and ensuring that we have funded government. Yes. Whip Clark and Leader Jeffries have both indicated every option is available. The importance of providing aid to Israel and Ukraine, humanitarian assistance, Indo-Pacific resources is so incredibly important, and the urgency with which that is necessary is right in front of us. Any procedural step, will take time. The most important thing, the fastest thing that we can do, is for the speaker to put this bill on the floor, the bill that has 70 votes in the Senate to put it on the floor. Absent that, it's going to take time, no matter the procedural step. But we have said that we are willing to consider any procedural step in working toward a bipartisan solution. Leader Jeffries has indicated, his view is there's 300 votes for that bill if the speaker put it on the floor. We share that view. And if Republicans truly wanted to lead and truly wanted to stand with Ukraine as they fight for their freedoms, that's what they would do.
Having served an active duty in the military and then serving in the reserves, it's very clear that America's national security depends on what happens around the world. So one reason that food prices went up, in addition to price gouging by companies, was also because an immense amount of fertilizer came from the Ukraine-Russia region. Prices went up. Same with grain. That came from that region as well. Prices went up. And so if we just isolate ourselves and just ignore what happens in the rest of the world, it's still going to affect America. We're in the 21st century now. So it's just a really stupid view to think we're just our little island here and we don't have to pay attention to the rest of the world. So it helps U.S. national security when we make sure that Russia doesn't succeed in Ukraine, and it will also help bring us prices down if we can end this war quickly. And the way we end it quickly is to give Ukraine the resources to end the war quickly.
Last one. Well, look, that's our hope. There's an agreement in principle is what we have today to address to have this CR to move the dates to the 8th and the 22nd, as you mentioned, and to put up for a vote six bills, six of the 12 appropriation bills. That's what is in front of us. But as I mentioned before, Republicans have walked away from bipartisan deals in the past, and so we're cautiously optimistic that we can meet these deadlines. I think that clearly the second group of bills could be difficult and problematic, especially as Republicans in the House continue to insist on policy riders that erode women's reproductive freedom. And so I think that House Democrats will stand in lockstep to ensure that that doesn't happen. But that is a position of House Republicans. We look forward to working with our colleagues to avoid this shutdown. And House Democrats continue to put up the votes, by the way, to pass every continuing resolution and every funding opportunity, while Republicans go back and forth on whether they support funding our government and funding key priorities, including those at the border. House Democrats are the ones that continue to put up the votes, and that shouldn't be lost on the American public. Thank you so much.